hello, new filming location unlocked. My hair actually looks good right now. What? Um, Welcome to that January wrap up, but like in an interesting way, because in January I'm doing an experiment. So basically, in case you haven't seen, any of my recent vlogs, the whole entire month, I did weekly reading vlogs all in the month of January. Yeah, I basically wanted to mood read for a month. And so that's what I did for January, so that I could mood read. I say that as it is currently January 8th. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. There was this experiment I wanted to do where I noticed a lot of the times, I'll have a photo up right now of my January 2022 page reading stats from Storygraph, so you can see you can see what's happening. And I can't say words properly. I'll maybe do a side-by-side at the end of the month where you can see both of them. That could be a thing that can be done if I can be talked into figuring out how to do all that fun stuff. But yeah, basically I noticed that there's like a thing where like some days I'll read like basically nothing. I'll read like 0 pages. I'll read like 50 pages. And that's fine. Whatever. But then to compensate on other days, especially near the end of the month, I'll read like 800 pages, 600 pages, 700 pages, 500 pages. Like insane amount of pages to counteract it. And basically I recognize as a person who likes statistics and fun stuff like that, that probably if I were to read a minimum of 100 pages per day and I were to track it throughout a month and try to keep myself on track, I failed pretty early on, I'm just gonna say that. Then one, I wouldn't have those stressful days where I read 700 pages a day. And two, like the page amounts and book amounts will probably be the same and all that stuff, but it will be less stressful and feel like a more enjoyable experience. Not saying that I don't enjoy reading normally, it's just a thing. And a month in which I'm mood reading seemed like the easiest month to do it, because months where I'm doing my typical vlog stuff, there is 9 books that are just for vlogs, let alone any for book clubs and whatnot, and it's kind of chaotic. Like I'm usually trying to read 1 or 2 from the medium length vlog that has 3 books in it in the first week before the first weekend, so that I can in that weekend read the one for the weekend reading vlog, and then I can read right after that the last 1 or 2 of the one for the mini or medium reading vlog, and then I have like 2 weeks, a week and a half to read 5 books. But it never worked out properly because I'm always not even procrastinating, it's a lot of books, a lot of information going to this brain, as well as I'm like reading other things at the same time, and it's always difficult. So I thought filming for that would be during one of those months would be a little difficult, so I'm doing it in mood reading month. Makes sense. And so because of that, to make my brain make sense, so I don't at the end of the month just go through day by day what I'm reading and how many pages that was each day, and then I'll like don't remember what happened the first week, I'm just gonna do it weekly. So the Sunday that I start a next vlog is when I'm gonna start it, the first or the next update, right? Does this make sense? I don't know. I'm talking for 4 minutes and I don't know if this is making any sense. But basically, the Sundays that I start the next vlog, I will also film the update for this, where I talk about the past week's reading. And when I do finish a book, I'll talk about that book and why I rated it. So it'll be like a normal wrap up, but like incrementally, and also a little more detailed, chapter, or not chapter, but page number wise and all that stuff. we're gonna have some conversations. The first, I read 114 pages of The Duchess War. I don't know what happened that day, honestly. This is a Courtney Milan. It is the first full-length novel in this series that I've kind of been reading for a while. The Kiss from Midwinter, which I talked about previously, I think 2 times on this channel. And I think I read it again in November, type thing. Is like one of the later novellas in the series. But also, I read the prequel novella in December, and I really, really liked it. I had such a good time. So I decided to read the first full-length novel in the series. I got thoughts and opinions. I'll talk about them in a second. But I decided to read that. It was available at my library, so I was like, why not? I read it. I read 114 pages, the first. On the second, I already failed at this experiment and I only read 69 pages. And then the third, I read 51 pages. And then the fourth, we're back on track. I read 82 pages of it and finished it. And so basically, giving it 3.5 stars. Wasn't as good as the novella, prequel novella. The romance was fun and stuff. I liked the banter and all that stuff. But once they got actually married and it was like their married life, it got boring. It got boring. And not because their marriage is boring. It's pure chaos. I was just bored with their relationship. So I was bored in general. And that's fine. Went with 3.5 stars and all that good stuff. I will put the weekly reading vlogs that I talk about these books in more detail in up above in the cards. Just a side thing. And then I also read 74 pages of The Words Left Unspoken, which is a poetry collection, which meant on the 4th I read a total of 156 pages. And then I finished The Words Left Unspoken on the 5th with 112 pages. Basically, I'm not gonna go much into it because it was a NetGalley book. So, like, I actually made an actual review. Not really, it's like 2 sentences long because I didn't have many thoughts or opinions. But basically 2 stars. I liked a few of the poems, but I got bored pretty easily and also it felt a little too preachy. But if you're like someone who's part of the authors community in general, like before this book came out, I think you'd enjoy this book. So, there's that. And I also on that day started Fun Home, read 88 pages, which means I read a total of exactly 200 pages that day. We love that for me. And then the 6th, I finished Fun Home with a total of 152 pages. I'm going with 3 stars, okay? 1, I love how this book counts as a nonfiction for my nonfiction goal. Love that for me. 2, I heard that it was the book of lesbians for a long time. A lot of people from my college had told me to read it. Though the last time I read a book that those people recommended to me was Where the Crawdadsing in January of last year, and I really didn't like that book. I rated it 1.5 stars. So, like, I was hesitant. But then Bestie, real life Bestie, reads a lot of graphic novels. That's like the main thing she reads, other than like travel books, and it's like one of her favorite books of all time. So I finally managed to get my hands on it. I was like, might as well. And I read it, and it's fine. It was surprising. It wasn't what I expected it to be, but also it was like boring, and it didn't go into what I wanted to go into as much as I wanted it to. Does that make any sense? Probably not. Like it would bring up things, it would talk about it briefly, and then maybe later on in the book it would talk about it again, but it would just reiterate something it had already said. So, like, what's the point? And yeah, I was bored for a lot of it. I hate to say it. But that's fine. Okay, that's a weird cut. I'm so smart. After I filmed the bits for the reading vlogs and I went upstairs to get the journal and whatnot, I also happened to take up the book that I'm currently physically reading, which is pertinent for this as well. So I left it up there. Anyways, what day was this? This was the 6th. I read 13 pages. I basically just read the first chapter of each read. Meaning I read a total of 165 pages. And then on the 7th, yesterday. I read 112 pages of this. I'm now like a third of the way through. Lovely. And then the Guinevere Deception, I read 2 chapters of, which equals out to 32 pages for a total of 144 pages yesterday. So far, failed twice, but I've been doing good since then. And yeah, that's kind of it. I'm not gonna go into like the 3 that I'm currently reading right now. I'll talk about them when I actually finish them. But yeah, that's kind of it that I'm about to talk about. So I guess I'll see you on the 15th, the next time I update you for this. So fun. Up above in the cards will be the first weekly reading vlog. There's also going to be a playlist of them all at the end of the video. So stay tuned for that, and yeah. Until next week. Oh my god, time for the second week update for this weird experiment. Except instead of being Sunday, it is Tuesday. And it's kind of spoilers for the next week's update because I'm not going to talk about yesterday or Sunday in this. Though I did write down what I read and all that fun stuff. But I have decided that because like forcing myself to reach 100 pages every night kind of iffy. So I'm giving myself leeway for 1 day a week to not be, as long as I read something, I'm good, type thing. And yeah, I achieved that, or I did that for this week's on Sunday. But you don't get to hear about that yet. That's next week's update. Now, the past week, from the 8th to the 14th, every single day, I did read at least 100 pages. So that's fun. I did it for 1 week. And a lot of these days, I was reading 2 or 3 books at a time because I was trying to get through 2 different books that I've been reading for a while. You know about them. I talked about them in the past section. But basically, I was trying to read 1 or 2 chapters of each every morning. Things have happened since then, and we'll talk about them. But those books are starting with the 8th. The Monster in the Shadows, I read 12 pages. That was 2 chapters. We don't need to talk about it. The Guinevere Deception, I read 32 pages. I believe that was also 2 chapters. You can tell the difference. I did read an extra chapter just because I wanted to. And you know whatnot, all that fun stuff. And then I did read 61 more pages of Beach Read for a total of 105 pages that day. On the 9th, I read another 2 chapters of Monsters in the Shadows, of 23 pages of it for 2 chapters. This is when I started to skim read it. And, yeah. We'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, that's when I started to skim read it, and so it was taking me like 5 minutes to read 23 pages because nothing was happening, okay? And then the rest of the day I spent reading the last 176 pages of Beach Read, reading a total of 199 that day. I still love Beach Read. It's still a favorite, still 5 stars. Is it really a surprise? No, and I'm happy that I got to reread it, and I love this book, okay? The 10th, for the 2 chapters of Monster in the Shadows, it was 16 pages. For the chapter of Guinevere's Deception, it was 14 pages. And then I started, for my love for H, Trist 6 Venom, reading a total of 177 pages of that book. I've not read any of it since then. It's pure chaos. It is oddly easy to read, which is unexpected, the fact that it's like a bully dark romance. I'm kind of decided to skim read the stuff that doesn't have to do the actual romance itself at this point, which is fine. But yeah, I'm kind of liking it, and that was a total of 207 pages on the 10th. The 11th, by 2 chapters of Monsters in the Shadows equal to 19 pages. It was a few days after this that I decided it, but I hadn't read any more after the 11th, and I think it was like the 13th that I officially decided to DNF Monster in the Shadows. Very sad, being as it's the first book I was ever approved of on NetGalley. It was just boring and not what I expected. based off the synopsis. And it had taken me, I think, like 26 days to get through 42% of it. So, yeah, I'm good. I DNF'd it. That's fine. And then I started Cultish, read the first 2 parts, which was 37%. I did it via audiobook, but Storygraph has this thing where you can make it so that when you listen to an audiobook, the percentage equals out to a number of pages and whatnot, which was equal to 114 pages. So technically I read 133 pages. The only reason I do it like that is back when I used to track my reading myself manually before I got Storygraph. And all the book trackers I use nowadays, when I used to like draw these tables and whatnot, like I would do it based off of percentages on pages, and I would do the math myself. Thankfully Storygraph does it for me now. And yeah, for this purpose of this experiment, I'm also counting it as pages, but I also wrote down percentages, right? But yeah, the 11th, I read a total of 133 pages. 12th, I was not feeling it. I did not feel like reading anything physically. I was not having a good time. I think that was the day when I officially decided to DNF Monsters in the Shadows. And then I listened to the next 2 parts of Cultish, which was 34%, aka 105 pages, and that is it. That's all I did. I think I played Papa's Pizzeria. I've been playing lots of Papa's Pizzeria on my iPad while I've listened to that book. 13th, finished off Cultish, which was 29% of the book, which equaled 90 pages. I'm going with 2.5 stars. I didn't really like the writing style in general, but also like the way things were talked about. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. I did enjoy a few things, but like overall didn't have a good time. 2.5 stars. And then I read Syrup, a Yuri anthology, which is a manga collection of short stories about lesbian love. It's only 180 pages. I read the whole entire thing that night. Honestly, I don't know what I was expecting when I went into it, but I should have known better. I really should have, because 1, H rated it 3 stars. H never rates anything lower than 4 stars. It's rare that happens. And 2, the Goodreads average rating was pretty low. But I decided to pick it up anyways. I was like, I have it. Might as well read it. I decided not to rate it because, like, I did originally label it as 3 stars, but then I was like, I can't decide between 2 or 3, and 3.5, or 2.5, not 3.5. 2.5 doesn't feel right either, and all this stuff, so I just decided not to rate it. It's a thing that I read. I enjoyed it, but also I didn't. The end. But that was a total of 270 pages on the 13th. And then the 14th, I started my reread of Addie LaRue. I believe, if I remember properly, I read about half of the first part that day, in the Read With Me's that I have started this month. Well, technically last month for you, because this is now February, but, yeah, I've started Read With Me's. I decided to start with my re-annotation of this book. And I'm going hand with it. I'm just going to continue to record my whole entire reading experience of this with Read With Me's. Because I enjoy doing it. They're very easy to edit. Most of the time spent to do it is the filming process and setting up the filming for it. But otherwise, yeah, they're pretty easy. I like them. I downloaded more sounds to play in the background for ambiance. The first 2 I didn't have any ambiance sounds other than me reading. The third one, I put fire ambiance, and then I downloaded some rain ones, multiple rain ones, and by multiple I mean 2, to put in some new ones later this week. So that's a thing, like, happening every Wednesday now, because I have a lot of them. I've had them set up for the next 3 weeks, technically 4 weeks, because one of those Wednesdays is being used up for the last weekly reading vlog. So yeah, I have a lot of them, so have fun with that. That's a thing. I was gonna do it like a monthly thing. Now it's like a weekly thing, so have fun with that. But yeah, I read 44 pages of this, and I started Core Silver Flames, finally. Read 36% of it, which was equal to 273 pages, for a total of 317. I don't know if I'm enjoying it. I'm sticking with that thought. Yeah, I'm trying to finish it today. Read the other 64%. I did that math really fast in my head. Today, because the audiobook's gonna be returned to the library in like a day and a half. That's what needs to happen. But yeah, that's it. That's everything that I read in the past week. It doesn't feel like much, but also was a lot. I just read small amounts of multiple books instead of reading or finishing a lot of books. Which is fine, because I still did the goal thing. And yeah, that's it. That's everything that happened. I'll see you next week. Maybe actually on the Sunday that I'm supposed to film this. Imagine that. Hello, time for a wrap-up update. What is happening here? My back's been killing me. A lot of stressful things have happened. Go watch the 3rd weekly reading vlog to understand what the fudge has happened. My voice is apparently dying. I should probably chug more water. I chugged a bunch of water because I took a bath. That's why this is here. That's what this is. This is me taking a bath because my back's been killing me. So I boiled myself alive. That's what I call it, because I take very hot baths. About as hot as my bathtub will let me, which is great. We got a new filming location, which I did film at twice in the 3rd weekly reading vlog, but you haven't seen it yet. You can very much tell my roots from the last time I dyed my hair. I just noticed that. That is lovely. Ooh, I've got to dye it soon anyways. It's been over a year. It's been since August of 2021. So it's been a bit. Okay? But let's talk about last week. I did mention, I think in the last clip, that I am giving myself leeway to not read 100 pages twice a week. Except I didn't do it twice, or once a week. But I did it twice this week. Listen, a lot of stuff happened. I'm surprised that I managed to do it on the 20th. And I'll explain why I didn't do it yesterday. When we get to that. But yeah, no, a lot of things have happened. My life was pure chaos for like the past few days. So that's kind of my explanation. But the first day I didn't read that much. That was the Sunday, yes, the 15th. I only read 61 pages of this. But all of that was also annotating, and I was also filming me reading it at the same time for Read With Me's, because that's the thing I'm doing now every Wednesday, and whatnot. So, yeah. No, I didn't read much, but I did so many other things. Like, I was filming and editing and scheduling and uploading and all that for, like, multiple Read With Me's with this. And that whole process takes a lot. The editing isn't that bad, thankfully. I did edit and upload the whole entire vlog a whole week early. So that was like also a thing I did. I was taking care of the dogs. People were returning home from being away all weekend. So yeah, it was a pretty chaotic day. So I didn't have much time to actually read. I was like cleaning the house and doing all the stuff around the house. So, but yeah, that's fine. And then on the 16th, I read a whole entire book, which was a Tessa Dare novella. It's like a standalone novella. It used to be part of like a collection of some kind. I don't know the whole name because it's super long and dumb, but I know it ends with Mr. Right, and it's Tessa Dare, and you can see the cover right now, so it doesn't matter. And it's 144 pages. I liked it. It was pretty good. I'm pretty sure I rated it 3.5 stars. Not my favorite Tessa Dare, but not my least favorite. It's pretty good. I liked it. I'm kind of on the fence with Tessa Dare novellas in general, because it doesn't really have enough time for all the other stuff. But also, the only other novellas I've read from her have been from the Spindle Cove series, and those ones spend a lot of time with like other characters in that universe as well at the same time. And so like it doesn't feel like there's enough time for the romance to happen. And that's why I have an issue with a lot of those ones. The first one in this Middle Cove series wasn't that bad because it was like pretty early on. It was like right after the first book, so didn't really have many characters to connect to. But this one, because it's a standalone, doesn't have all these other characters to connect to. So that was fun. And also the writing style was pretty interesting. Spicy Dance was good. The main character male main character, Mr. Wright, he took me a lot to get into the way he treated the main character. I don't remember her name. I was like a little suspicious about you know, locking a woman into a room with you, a little weird. And then saying that she wants to be there, and just constantly demanding that she wants to be there, a little weird, just gonna say. But then, like, I slowly started to like him over time, and I was really liking it. And then the Spice Dance happened, and the Spice Dance scene was fine in itself, but like, there was a part where, and I quote, he suckled her toes, and I was not here for that. I was like, I'm out of here, bye. But then the thing with the wedding and the crashing of the wedding happened, aka the last chapter, and that was hilarious. But yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. It's a good time. A lot about the misconceptions other people have about you, and yeah, and what you have about other people, like what you may think about someone just by looking at them is very wrong. And yeah, that's like a big thing in it. And that was a fun day. I don't know, I read in like an hour and a half. And then the 17th, I read another 29 pages of this. I probably filmed it. I don't know why I was gonna ask if I filmed it. I probably did. I think that was probably one of the 30-minute ones that I filmed. So, yeah. And then I also read another third of A Course Over Flames, which is approximately equal to 242 pages, for a total of 271 pages that day. And then the 18th, I finished A Course Over Flames, which was another 32% again. So again, 242 pages approximately. And that's all I read that day. I went with 2.5 stars. I've gone into depth multiple times because there was the original time I filmed the update for that book that I had to delete, and then there was the second one that I filmed for that vlog, and then also when I finished it, like right afterwards, I was on sprints the next morning, so I talked a lot about it then. So I'm not gonna go into depth, but basically, Rhysand was ruined. I didn't really care about the romance. The other worldy stuff about like the world ending again. Why? Why can't it just like be a simple romance? Like, hear me out. I just really don't like Sarah J. Maas smut, and that's fine. And I'm moving on with my life. I will continue the series when the next one comes out. H, I'm sure, is so happy about that, and that is a lie because H had to experience me experiencing that book. A lot of spam messages is what H got. But hey, on the bright side, I got to play Papa's Pizzeria while I listened to it. So, you know, fun times. And then the 19th, which is the day I did sprints, I wanted to read about a third of the Guinevere Deception, because I stopped doing that thing where I read the chapter every morning, because I DNF'd the other book that I was doing that for. So I want to read about a third of it during sprints. I kind of have a plan to read another third, or the last third, during the next time I do sprints. But yeah, basically that's what I did. I did do it during the sprints. Was equal to about 102 pages. I'm really liking it. I've got theories. I started rewatching Merlin because of it. God, I love that show so much. I just watched the Lancelot episode, the first Lancelot episode, and yeah, that's what I was watching last night. And I believe the next episode is the first Mordred episode. Ooh. I have thoughts, I have opinions. Yeah. So I was reading that. It's good. I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm gonna have to read the next book pretty soon in the series, but that's fine, because when I actually pick them up, I read them like really fast. So it should be fine and whatnot. And then the 20th, I started the buddy read book club pick thingamajiggy for HD and I, but currently only H and I are reading it. For Wilder Girls, which H has finished already, so I'm like behind, but only slightly. I read 34%, a third of it on the 20th, because I'm doing an audiobook, which is equal to about 125 pages, and I'm not liking it. Apparently ended up at this perfect point, so like that's great, for the next day of reading, aka yesterday. But yeah, I'm not really enjoying it. It's given me 2.75 star vibes, 2.5, like I'm not liking it that much. And of course it's a book that I pick that this happens with. So, you know, that's lovely. But moving on, yesterday I filmed another read with me with this, and then I annotated the rest of part 2 without filming it, and I've like figured out how much of each part I'm gonna annotate while filming, and which I'm gonna like just annotate on my own, and all that. But yeah, it was like a 45-minute video, and I read like 20 pages in that because it was heavy annotation. That's why I didn't read much yesterday, because most of what I physically read, well, all that I physically read was this, and it was pretty heavily annotated. Like I was underlining most of a lot of pages. So that's a thing that happened. And then I also got to the halfway point of Wilder Girls, technically 51% of the way through, which is 17%, which is equal to approximately 63 pages for a total of 90 pages yesterday. So like it's pretty close to my goal, and it's fine because things have been happening. It was chaos. I'm not enjoying Wilder Girls, and I was like, I'm not gonna want to finish it unless if I finish it while playing video games, which is a thing I'm kind of currently doing, but not really because I'm filming this instead. But yeah, that's what happened in the past week. So I think we have about a week and a little bit left. So fun times. And I'll see you next Sunday. Bada bing, bada boom. We love how I started this in this sweater, and I'm editing it in this sweater. That was completely by accident. It's just cold, so I pulled out a random sweater. And here we are. But yeah, I'm gonna try to do this fast because in like less than half an hour, I have sprints starting. So, yeah, I am going to tell you about the last 10 days of January because I could have like done it at the end of the week like I normally did, and then done the last 3 days in one, but like, nah, I'm fine. And then we're going to talk about stats in general. I have my computer here for that part where we will be using both my Storygraph stats and my book tracker in general stats, right? And yeah, I think that's it. Did I forget to pull them up beforehand? That's what I'm doing right now. Yes. We don't need to talk about it. It's fine. Okay, my internet is being really bad, so let's hope that these load. And in the meantime, we'll actually talk about the books. That means I have to actually open up to the page that I have them written down. Okay, yes, it was starting with this one. So on the 22nd, I read 49% of Wilder Girls, which is about equal to 180 pages. Finishing it, I gave it 2.5 stars. It was fine. It really was fine. It just wasn't my type of book. I was really there for the mystery, but like a lot of things were mentioned and then dropped and never brought up again, which is a little weird. Nothing was really explained. There definitely should have been a certain character who died at the end, and just the ending in general was not it, fam. I get why people really don't like that. Like it was giving me 2.75 and then that ending happened and I just was like, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna bring it down to 2.5. And yeah, I don't really know what else there is to say. I've talked about it a lot with H, so you know, there's that. Sorry, the internet is still crap. That's gonna be making it's very interesting. But then I started Dead Silence, which I'll talk about when I
talk about how I finished it. But it was another audiobook, read 5% of it, which is equal to about 17 pages for a total of 197 pages that day. On the 23rd, I only read 11% of Dead Silence, which was equal to 38 pages, so it really failed on that day. It's fine, we don't need to talk about it. I forgot to grab the physical book because I'm so smart. Am I gonna keep in the clip where I was singing while I went to grab out of the room? Maybe. You know, we'll see. Basically, on the 24th, I read 61 pages of this. It was a lot of annotating. A fun time. I think this was on Springs, and I also was filming Read With Me's as I was also on Springs while I was also reading. Like, it was a lot of stuff. And then also I read 74 pages of the Guinevere Deception for a total of 131 pages. On the 25th, I finally finished the Guinevere Deception with 60 pages. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty good. Like, I liked it and whatnot. I am gonna continue the series. I had a good time. I really like Kirsten White's writing, so that's good because I do plan to read some of her other books later this year and whatnot. I just think that it like took me too much to get into it, and that's why it's not like a 5-star for like obvious reasons. I think it took me like 57 days or something like that. I don't know. It's in one of the vlogs. The vlog where I finish it. The last vlog, I say how long it took me to read it, and it took way too long, which is basically the only reason why it's not 5 stars. Also, it was a little mid near the ending, but you know, I am Team Guinevere and Lancelot in this book, okay? And then I decided to start Neon Gods. Okay, let's be real. My co-star app, horoscope app, told me to read an erotica novel. So I had the urge to read Neon Gods for a bit there. So I was like, you know what? I'll just read some of it and have a good time while I play Stardew Valley. And then it'll just be like a random extra book that wasn't any of the ones I was reading at the time and all that fun stuff. And then I read the whole thing, which is equal to 369 pages. We love that. I rated it 5 stars. Honestly, just go watch the vlog, because a lot of things happened. But yeah, I loved it. It came out of left field. Thank you, co-star, for that. It was a good time. It was the favorite of the month. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say other than it was great, unexpectedly. And yeah, so I read a total of 429 pages that day. The 26th, I decided, you know what, why not, and read the sequel to Neon Gods, Electric Idol. I read all of it again for a total of 374 pages. That one follows Persephone's sister from the first book and Aphrodite's son. This one I noticed had more about the politics of the world, and I don't really care for that in this universe, so I was like mid on that stuff. But yeah, also I didn't care for the romance as much as the first one, so 4 stars. But yeah, I still had a good time. And then on the 27th, I was like, you know what, why not? And I read the 3rd one, which is the last one out, until the 7th. In the 7th, the 4th one comes out. But yeah, I read all of Wicked Beauty, which was equal to 388 pages. What can I say? This one is Helen of Troy, Achilles, and Patroclus. Watching the vlog back yesterday when I was editing it was hilarious. The amount of times that I mispronounced his name, it's chaos. It got funnier every time to only me. I swear, only me will find this hilarious, but you know, that's beside the point. Again, more politics stuff than romance. That being said, I still really liked it. It was a good time, and whatnot. But it also set up a lot of more politics stuff for the later books. I don't know what's happening there. Like, some stuff is happening outside of the romance aspect in these books, and it keeps on setting up this stuff. And I'm here for the romance, so you know. So I rated it 4 stars. It was a good time. and whatnot. On the 28th, I read another 75 pages of this, and that's it. A lot of annotating, a lot of filming read with me's and editing them. I think that was the day that I was like filming and editing and all this other stuff a bunch, because I forgot that TBR was a thing that I had to film and then edit and then upload, because it was like the next day that it had to be up. So yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I did just that, and then on the 29th I read 31 more pages of this. I think I just finished the part I was on. And then I finished Dead Silence, which was 84% of it, equal to about 288 pages for a total of 319 pages that day. I gave Dead Silence 3 stars. Hear me out. It was fine. The characters, not the biggest fan of, especially just about every male character. It was fine. The horror aspect, yeah, I get it, but like it didn't really come in until later. And I did mention in the vlogs that the way it kind of worked was that like it started with the like current day, and then it goes to her like telling the story to investigators of what happened on the ship and whatnot that they found. And then like eventually they cut in, but around like 50 to 75% of the way through the book, it suddenly switched to back to just the current day, like all the stuff in the past that happened and whatnot. And it's just her having to go back on the ship, because they want to go and see if they're survivors and all this stuff. And all the stuff was happening there, and I really, like, it was a sudden switch. I didn't know how to feel about it, and I still didn't really like it. It was very mid. And also, I'm just saying, I don't understand. Like, it explains the why and how and what's special about the main character, but also, like, what makes her special is that it seems that she can see ghosts that does not have to do with the thing that makes it so all these people are seeing ghosts, and whatnot. But she's seeing people some of the time that aren't actually dead. Like, the things that she sees, like, actual ghosts, like, actual real ghosts, and all this stuff. But you learn that, like, one of the people that she sees is not actually dead. So why is she seeing that one person? And it's the only one person she sees that isn't actually dead too. Everyone else she sees is actually dead. And it's this whole thing. And I found a loophole, basically, and I'm not so sure about it, and whatnot. And then on the 30th, I finished Addie LaRue, read the last 116 pages of this, without any filming. Lovely. I just straight up annotated and sat there and read it for most of the day. It was fun annotating it, because I slept weird on my wrist, I think, and so that was fun. Did I cry again? Yes. Do I still love this? Yes. Did I up it to 5 stars? Yes. Which makes it my 26th book ever rated 5 stars. I had the number wrong. I think I said it in one of the vlogs, when I finished Beyond Gods, because Storygraph counts the Poedex twice, because I've read it as 2 different versions, both as ebook and I've read it previously as an audiobook as well, at different points in time. So, you know, that's fun. But yeah, I love this. I don't know why I had it at 4 stars, honestly, really. And I'm very happy that I got to go through and annotate it. It's very nice and pretty now. I mean, it's already pretty, but yeah, I had a good time with this. And is there really anything else to say? I mean, yeah, I love this book. I get it if you don't. I feel like this is one of those books that, like, either you love or you dislike, and I was one of the ones to love it, apparently. Should I actually read another V. Schwab at some point? Probably. Like, maybe that'd be a good idea, me. And then I started, something, I don't remember the title of it, you see it up, it's by Amy Rose Bennett. Listen, the title's so long, I just wrote her initials down. I read 47 pages of it, for a total of 163. I will talk about that book in a minute. Because on the 31st, aka yesterday, I just read 119 pages of it before I decided to DNF it. But I also decided to DNF for 6 Venom. technically on the 30th is when I decided to DNF it. I never read any more of it ever since the day that I picked it up. And the further I got away from when I had started it, the more I realized it really was not for me. I have decided officially, one, bully romance is not my thing. I've only read it and enjoyed one of them, and that's because it was like 60 pages long, so there wasn't much of the bully aspect. It was like 2 pages of the actual bullying, and then it was like into, like, you understood why and all this stuff, and whatnot, but then it went into the, like, him making his amends and all that fun stuff, and it was actually pretty good. This one, yeah, no, I don't like bully romances. And on top of that, the way that the character interactions in general were, really don't like it when books have those type of character interactions. It really not my thing. Hear me out. So, yeah, I've started to DNF more books, that are like that, because I've recognized it as, like, a real issue I have. Especially the, like, toxic relationship / friendship, aspect of it. Not my thing. So basically it had, like, 2 big issues / triggers I have in books, and I decided that it wasn't really worth it for me to try to push through the other 2/3 of it, of this, like, excessively long book, to then rate it 3 stars max, when I wouldn't have a good time. So I DNF'd it. I'm sorry, H, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Remember me. You love me. I'm your favorite mother. To think that I bought you this book. Oof. But yes, let's go back to the Amy Rose Bennett, because I also DNF'd that one. I read it because, I have the sequel, the second book, that also comes out the 7th of February, from NetGalley. I have the audiobook. I think maybe the audiobook will help me. Oof. I hope and pray. Listen. The issue really wasn't the writing. The writing did take me a minute to get into it, because I don't know what it was. It's very, mid. Like, I've read much better writing, especially in historical romance, but I've also read worse writing, so I was like, meh. But the way that, like, Jane Austen and Pride and Prejudice, was brought up so many times, and I was like, I could just be reading Jane Austen instead and having a better time. Was lovely. But my real issue was the romance in itself. I wrote a review that lists off all the reasons, and also throughout the book I had complaints and I was talking about them, so I'm gonna talk about them now. Okay, here we go. Hear me out. Put this over here. I got time, right? Basically, hear me out. So Artemis is her name. Well, love it. And his name's Dominic, okay? So Artemis is 29, I believe. She does not want to get married, ever. She is currently a school teacher, and she has a dream to open her own, women's college type thing, so that, women can get higher education, and then they can have the requirements it takes to get into a specialized school, like surgeon, and lawyer, and all that fun stuff. Right? So she has this dream. She really believes that the way that society believes that women should be educated is very wrong. And really talks about this, like, almost constantly. It's a really big thing. Like, almost every other character that is not her best friends, the romantic interest, and, his daughter, like, literally every other character, thinks the specific way that society says that women should be, taught is the way to go. And, it's just constantly, like, shoehorn in the fact that she's right and all this stuff. It's a little weird about it, but, you know, that's fine. Also, in this society, apparently, reading Jane Austen is an evil thing to do. I don't know. So that's what's happening. One of her best friends from the book club that the 3 books follow, the second one is the one that I have, from NetGalley, who I think follows Lucy, who is one of her best friends, whose father is trying to set her up to get married, because they need money, and he's like, well, I'm gonna just sell off my daughter. Like, does her brother have the ability to also get married and get the money? Yes, but why would they do that when they can just sell off the woman? So she's showing up to help her best friend get out of this situation, because she does not want to get married either. Meanwhile, her sister does want to get married, and the only way that their aunt, who has money and an actual title, will allow her sister to have a season, who's like 21 at this point, is if Artemis also has a second season, and all this stuff is happening, right? Okay. Now, after the train, when she gets to the city, she accidentally runs into Dominic. There's like some stuff that goes on there. She secretly writes, romance, gothic romance. No one knows about it. It's how she's saving up money to, open up the school, because a salary as a teacher really doesn't do it. And whatnot, but she also is trying to find someone with deep pockets to pay for this thing, right? Makes sense. It doesn't really, I don't know. There's also a thing where in her first season, there was this guy who was a rake, and she allowed him to talk her into doing the deed, and so, yeah, that's a whole thing. And then he went and married one of her friends, a different friend, and whatnot. So that's a fun thing. Now Dominic's has I think she's like 13-year-old daughter. He's single. His wife died a few years back. A lot of people believe that he was the one to kill her. 'Cause she like technically disappeared. And her brother thinks that he killed her. It turns out the brother is the guy who was the rake in Artemis's past. That's like a whole thing. Okay. So Dominic decides that he needs a wife. One, to have an heir, but two, because he thinks that his daughter, who is kind of being rebellious right now, needs a mother. Like, yes, she needs a female friend, maybe an older female friend, just maybe a friend in general. She just, like, you can't just, like, replace her mother. But it's like a thing where he's like, she needs a mother. Constantly. That's his reasoning, okay? Anyways, they have an infatuation, blah, 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 blah. She makes up a plan that in order to get away from her overbearing aunt, she's going to be slightly ruined, which is basically, she gets caught making out with Dominic, and then her aunt, like, by her aunt, and then her aunt is like, you can't do the blah blah blah, I disown you, and then she goes and lives with her friend Lucy, while she finds someone to pay for her school, and all this stuff. That's kind of like the very, 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 very basic plan, right? But then we're getting to the part where I really had issues. So he, like, Dominic agrees to this plan, okay? And then they're doing the making out scene. The aunt comes in. Oh my god, it's a big deal. But then Dominic decides he's gonna get down on one knee and propose. And she's like, excuse me, what? And she's like freaking out because, like, there's no way her aunt will let her go now, because now she has to marry this guy. He has ruined all her plans, all her future plans, basically taken over her plans. She does not want to get married, and he knows this, and yet he's proposing anyways, because, yeah, like, it's this whole thing. I made a list on Goodreads. I could probably pull it up, but, like, it's 9:53 and sprints start at 10. I don't got time for this. So, you know, it's a good time. And by that, it's not, and basically as soon as he, took all her wants and was like, who cares about that? I want to marry this woman. I was like, you know what, that's the last straw, and DNF it. I was like, I will read for another half an hour, and then if I still dislike it, I will DNF. But then that happened like 2 pages later. I was like, I'm done. Now stats. Maybe you'll see some charts and whatnot. You'll see. I read a total of 5,503 pages. If you do it the story graph way, but if you want to do it separate between pages and hours, it was 2,730 pages in 89 hours, with an average rating of 3.54 stars. Yes, lovely. Which is about my average, not that bad. With 2 rereads, and whatnot. 7 were audiobooks. That's way more than I thought it was gonna be. I blame Katie Robert. If we're counting all the 3 DNFs as well. I also DNF 3 books, so that's 18 books, and with those 18 books, 7 were audio, 9 were ebooks, and 2 were physical books. 2 were YA, 3 were new adult, and 13 were just straight adult. 10 were from authors I've read before, and whatnot, and then list off like based off of how many of each star rating. 3 5 stars, 3 4 stars, 2 3.5s, 2 3 stars, 3 2.5s, 1 2 star, 3 DNFs, and 1 book I didn't write. That's fun. That's all the stuff on my own thing. Mostly I read emotional, adventurous, or dark books, which is normal for me. Most of them are medium paced, about average length books. My top, let's go with 5 genres according to Storygraph, where romance makes sense, gay, kind of surprising, fantasy makes sense, historical makes sense, and then erotica. Lovely, lovely. We love that for me. And yeah, I think that's it. So I will use these 2 minutes to talk about whether or not I think this experiment worked. Because that was kind of the point of me doing this whole thing, to talk about the amount of pages I read each day in an experiment where I try to read at least 100 pages per day, to try to actively read every day, and also make it so I'm not reading like 500, 700 pages a day near the end of the month to catch up / finish the reading that I'm doing, while like near the middle and beginning, some days I'm just reading nothing, or like 2 pages or something like that. And I do have a screenshot that I took on my phone of the pages graph on Storygraph from January of 2022. So I'll have that up now. Maybe I'll like edit them into one document, I don't know, where you can see both of them at the same time, the one for then and the one for 2023, or this month. But yeah, basically, I'm gonna, even though I definitely didn't read 100 pages every day, I think I'm gonna still count it as a success, because I still did read every day, read a good chunk every day. Some days I did read more than others, but it wasn't like an insane thing where I'm just like reading 800 pages on some days near the end of the month to like catch up. It was me reading when I want to read, what I want to read, when, how long, all that fun stuff. And yeah, I think like it's a success, obviously. Like, it's about the normal amount, but I didn't get the feeling like I was feeling like all dried out from reading all of these books near the end of the month and then having to start over again at the beginning. It just felt like a constant thing, which is kind of what I wanted to do, and whatnot. So I'm gonna count it as like 3/4 of a success, because technically I didn't read 100 pages every day, but like the point was a success. So yeah, and yeah, it's 9:58 and sprint started at 10, so I'm gonna go. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. The next video should be the one where I read free ebooks, so that's fun.